All right, buckle up because we're going deep on some serious motorcycle tech today.
Oh, yeah.
And speed, a lot of speed.
Definitely. Gotta have speed.
We're talking a bike that can hit 300 kilometers an hour.
You're kidding?
Nope, that's over 186 miles an hour.
Wow, it's smoking.
It's the 2024 MV Agusta Brutale 1000 RR.
Okay, I know that with the naked superbike, right?
Yeah, the article calls it the ultimate naked superbike, but
Sounds like hype to me.
is it all hype or is this thing really special?
Yeah, it's not hype. That Brutale is a serious machine.
Well, let's find out.
Yeah, let's break it down.
First, that power, it's got 208 horsepower.
Out of a 998cc inline-four.
That's right. What's that like to ride?
Like a rocket, you just twist the throttle and it's gone?
The article mentions titanium connecting rods and radial valves.
Oh yeah, all that stuff really makes a difference.
To be honest, I don't know what that stuff means.
Basically, it means the engine can scream, rev higher, more power.
More power, okay, and the radial valves.
It's about efficiency. They move more air, so you get more power.
Wow, so they're like squeezing a race car engine in there.
Pretty much. But it's not just about horsepower.
Oh, right, torque.
116.5 Newton meters of torque in that thing.
And what does that do?
It means you launch off the line, you're pinned to your seat.
Sounds intense, but how do they keep it under control?
Well, the Brutale has a 6-speed gearbox, right? And it's got this EAS 3.0 quick shifter, means clutchless shifting.
Oh, so that's how they keep it smooth.
It's smooth, but it's still super responsive, especially when you're riding hard.
Right. And there's also the electronics, all the rider aids.
Yeah, you got the multiple riding modes.
So you can adjust it to be more or less aggressive.
Exactly. Street riding or unleash it on the track, it's up to you.
So much control. And then the traction control.
Oh yeah, 8 levels of traction control. It'll keep you from spinning out.
Even on bad roads, it sounds like it's got it all.
It's got the tech, it's got the power, it's all there.
But is it too much tech? Does it take away from the thrill?
Some people think that, but I don't. It just gives you more control.
More control, I see, like a safety net so you can push it harder.
Exactly. You have that backup so you can really see what it can do.
Makes sense, but what about the handling? Can it handle all that power?
The Brutale's power-to-weight ratio is insane. It weighs almost nothing.
186 kilos, that's really light.
Really light for that much power, yeah.
I'm looking at the frame here. Steel trellis with aluminum side plates.
It's beautiful, right?
It is. It's a classic design. Is it just about looks, or does it help with performance?
Oh, it's not just looks. That steel trellis is super strong, but light.
Okay, so it helps with the weight.
And the aluminum side plates, they add to the agility.
Agile and lightweight, and I see these winglets on the front.
Those are carbon fiber winglets. They're not just for show.
I was wondering about that.
They create downforce, keeps the front wheel planted at high speeds.
Okay, so it helps with stability. Makes sense.
Especially on a naked bike, it doesn't have a full fairing.
So we've got power, handling. What about stopping power?
It's got Brembo brakes, top of the line.
Brembos, yeah, those are supposed to be the best.
They are dual 320-millimeter discs with stylomic calipers up front.
That's a lot of technical terms.
Basically, it means you can stock on a dime, even from crazy speeds.
That's good to know. I'd want good brakes on a bike like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know what else is cool?
What's that?
Electronically controlled suspension. It blows me away.
What's so special about that?
So it has this Ullen suspension, the best you can get, but it's electronic.
What does that mean?
It adjusts itself. It can be soft for the road or stiff for the track.
Wow, so it adapts to the riding conditions?
You got it. Always the perfect setup. It's crazy.
This Brutale is packed with technology.
It really is, but how does it compare to the other bikes out there?
Yeah, like the Ducati Streetfighter V4S, that's a beast too, right?
It's a streetfighter. Yeah, that's a serious contender. It's got the same horsepower.
208 horsepower, they're evenly matched there.
But the engines are different. The Ducati is a V4. The MV Agusta is an inline-four.
Do they sound different?
Oh yeah, they both sound amazing, but they're different.
I'd love to hear them both. What about the weight?
The Ducati's a little lighter, actually.
Okay, so Ducati has the weight advantage.
But the MV Agusta might handle better. It's more about finesse.
I see. And what about the Kawasaki ZH2? That one has a supercharger, right?
It does. The ZH2 is a different beast. It's got that supercharged boost.
So it's got a different kind of power.
Totally different. The Brutale builds power smoothly. The
Mhm.
Kawasaki is like, bam.
An explosion of power.
Pretty much, but the supercharger adds weight.
So the Kawasaki is heavier?
Yeah, a lot heavier. The Brutale is way more agile.
Gotcha. So another point for the Brutale.
It's lighter, it's more agile, it's got a lot going for it.
And the Aprilia and the BMW, how do those compare?
The Brutale actually has more horsepower than both of those.
Wow, so it's the most powerful of the bunch.
It is.
Yeah.
But they all have great components in electronics.
So It's close. What makes the Brutale really stand out then?
MV Agusta has always been about craftsmanship, about design.
It's Italian, it's gonna have style.
They pay attention to detail. It's a premium motorcycle, but it comes at a price.
It sounds like it, but what about the riding experience? Is it comfortable?
Well, let's talk about the design. It's definitely got a look.
Yeah, it's a head turner for sure.
Sharp lines, the fuel tank, that LED headlight, it's unmistakable.
It's aggressive, but how comfortable is it to ride?
That riding position looks pretty intense, right?
Yeah, you're really leaning forward.
It's sporty, rear set foot pegs, low handlebars, all about control.
But maybe not for long rides.
Probably not the best for touring, you'd get tired.
But for shorter rides, what's it like?
Well, the seat is covered in Alcantara. It's supposed to be really supportive.
Okay, so comfort isn't completely ignored.
No, they've tried to make it comfortable for spirited riding.
What about the rider interface? Any cool gadgets?
Oh yeah, it has a full-color TFT display, like a little tablet.
What can you do with that?
Everything, speed, RPMs, fuel, but you also control the settings.
The riding modes, traction control, all that.
You can even adjust the suspension from there.
Wow, it's like a command center for the whole bike.
It is, it's pretty amazing.
It sounds amazing, but what's it like to actually ride? What's the feeling?
Hard to describe, it's visceral, you know?
The sound, the speed, the feeling of the road.
It all comes together. It's like freedom, like exhilaration.
It's a powerful machine, but it sounds like it needs respect.
Oh yeah, you got to respect it. It's not a toy.
So let's talk about the realities of owning this bike. The pros and cons.
The pros are obvious. The performance is insane.
208 horsepower, top of the line, everything.
And the technology, the electronics, the adjustable suspension, it's all there.
Plus, it's Italian, it's got style.
But there are drawbacks. The price is a big one.
What are we talking?
$37,000, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot. And we talked about the riding position.
Not the most comfortable for long rides, not very practical.
Not an everyday bike.
Not really. And then there's the maintenance.
Italian bikes are expensive to maintain, right?
They can be. Specialized parts, special mechanics, it adds up.
And this is not a beginner's bike.
Absolutely not. You need experience to handle this one.
Okay, and the article had a FAQ section. Anything interesting there?
They mentioned the price again, the top speed, over 300 kilometers an hour.
Wow. And what makes it unique?
They say it's the combination of power, design, and technology.
That seems to be the theme. It's got it all.
Mm.
So if you could have any bike, would this be it?
It's a tough question. It depends on what you want in a bike.
Some people want comfort, some want speed. It's different for everyone.
That's right, but the Brutale is definitely special.
No doubt. But let's talk about what someone should consider before buying one.
Yeah. What are the real-world things you got to think about?
First, you got to be honest about your riding skills. This isn't for beginners.
Definitely not. You need to be able to handle it.
And even if you have the skills, it's still a learning curve.
There's a lot to learn. The electronics, the suspension, how to control the power.
It takes time to master a bike like this.
It does. You have to be patient. You have to practice.
And then the practical stuff, the maintenance.
Italian bikes are not cheap to maintain. You got to be prepared for that.
It's an investment, not just the initial cost, but the upkeep, too.
Exactly. It's like owning a race car.
So let's go back to the comparison with the other bikes.
Yeah. How does it stack up against the competition?
You were saying the Brutale might handle better than the Ducati.
Yeah, it's lighter, more agile. It's more about precision than brute force.
A scalpel instead of a sledgehammer.
Exactly. And compared to the Kawasaki, the weight difference is even bigger.
The Kawasaki is heavier because of the supercharger.
Right, the Brutale is much more nimble, especially in the corners.
So it's the most agile of the bunch.
I think so. And it has more horsepower than the Aprilia and the BMW.
But they all have great components. It's a close race.
It is. But the MV Agusta has that Italian craftsmanship, that exclusivity.
It's a premium bike. It makes a statement.
It does. It's for people who appreciate the finer things.
Oh, I'm sold. I want one.
It's hard not to be impressed. It's an amazing machine.
So where can people learn more about it?
The article's a good start. The MV Agusta website. There are videos online.
But the best way is to experience it yourself.
Definitely. You got to ride it to really understand it.
Well, I think we've covered a lot today.
We have. It's been a fascinating deep dive into the Brutale.
Until next time, stay safe out there and enjoy the ride.
Keep the rubber side down.
And we'll see you on the next deep dive.
Sounds good.
Yeah, this thing looks mean.
Aggressive.
It's got those sharp lines, that sculpted fuel tank.
And that headlight.
Yeah, that MV Agusta LED headlight. You can't miss it.
It's a statement piece, for sure.
It's all about style, but are those design elements functional?
Oh, yeah. The exposed frame, The single-sided swing arm,
It's all part of the design.
it's all connected. It helps with the weight, with the rigidity.
It's like a work of art, but how practical is it? How comfortable is it to ride?
Well, that riding position.
Yeah, it looks intense.
It's definitely sporty. The foot pegs are back. The handlebars are low.
So you're really leaning forward.
Yeah, you're over the front. It's great for control when you're riding hard.
But probably not so comfortable for a long ride.
No, probably not the best for cruising. You'd get uncomfortable.
Your back would be killing you.
Exactly, but for shorter rides.
What about those?
The seat's interesting. It's covered in Alcantara.
Alcantara, what's that?
It's like this soft, suede-like material. Really nice.
Okay, fancy.
It's supposed to be really supportive, even in that aggressive position.
So they didn't completely ignore comfort.
They tried to find a balance, comfort for performance riding.
What about the rider interface? Are there any cool gadgets there?
Oh yeah, it's got that full-color TFT display.
Like a little screen? I've seen those on other bikes.
Yeah, it's like a tablet in the dashboard. You can see
The
everything.
heat, RPMs, all.
And you can control all the settings from there.
Really? Like what?
Riding modes, traction control. You can even adjust the suspension.
Electronically adjustable suspension. We talked about that.
Yeah, you control it all from the display. It's amazing.
So it's not just about showing information, it's about control.
Total control. You're in command of the whole bike.
It's a pretty amazing piece of technology, but what's it like to ride emotionally?
You know, it's more than just numbers. It's an experience.
It has a feeling.
It is the sound of the engine, the wind, the feel of the road.
You're one with the machine.
It's exhilarating. It's freedom. It's hard to describe.
I can imagine it's, like you said, visceral.
But you got to respect it. It's a powerful machine.
You can't just hop on this thing and go crazy.
You got to know what you're doing.
So let's talk about the realities of owning this bike, the pros and cons.
Okay. The good and the bad.
The performance is incredible.
It's a beast. 208 horsepower, the best components.
And in the technology, it's packed with it.
All the rider aids, the adjustable suspension, it's all there.
Yeah. And it looks amazing. It's an Italian exotic.
But it's expensive. That's a big drawback.
$37,000. We talked about that.
That's a lot of money for a motorcycle.
And the riding position, not great for long rides.
It's a compromise. You get the control, but not the comfort.
So not a practical bike for commuting or touring?
Not really. And then the maintenance costs.
Italian bikes are notorious for that.
They can be expensive to maintain. You need specialists.
And this is not a bike for beginners. We've established that.
No, you need experience. You need skill to handle this bike.
It's a serious machine. The article had that FAQ section.
Oh, yeah. What do they ask?
Well, they mentioned the price again, the top speed.
300 kilometers an hour. That's crazy.
It's super fast, and they asked what makes it unique.
What do they say?
It's the combination of power, design, and technology, they said.
So it's the whole package.
It's everything. It's a complete bike. I'm really impressed.
It's a special bike for sure.
But let's talk about what someone should really consider before buying one.
Okay, the practical considerations.
Like beyond the specs, beyond the hype.
Yeah, what do you really need to think about?
Well, first off, are you experienced enough for this bike?
It's not for everyone. You got to know what you're doing.
And even if you're experienced, it's still a lot to learn.
The electronics, the suspension, it takes time to master.
You can't just jump on it and ride like a pro.
It's a process. You got to learn the bike.
And then there's the maintenance, the costs.
It's an ongoing expense. You got to be ready for that.
It's not just the initial price, it's the upkeep.
You got to factor that in. It's part of owning an exotic bike.
Okay, so let's go back to the comparison with the other bikes.
All right, how does the Brutale stack up?
You were saying it might handle better than the Ducati.
Yeah, it's lighter, it's more agile, it's a different kind of riding experience.
It's about precision, not just brute force.
That's a good way to put it.
And the Kawasaki, the ZH2, that one's heavier.
The supercharger adds a lot of weight. The Brutale is much more nimble.
It's like a dancer compared to a wrestler.
Yeah, it's light on its feet. It's fun to ride.
And it's got more horsepower than the Aprilia and the BMW.
But they're all great bikes. It's a tough choice.
They are, but the MV Agusta has that Italian flair, that special something.
It's a premium bike. You know it when you see it.
It's a head turner. It's a statement piece.
And it performs as good as it looks.
I'm convinced I think I need to test ride one.
You should. It's an amazing experience.
So where can people learn more about this beast?
The article, the MV Agusta website, there are videos online.
But the best way is to ride it, right?
Absolutely. You got to feel it for yourself.
Well, I think we've covered it all.
We've gone deep on this one.
It's been a fascinating deep dive into the Brutale.
It's a special bike, no doubt about it.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of motorcycles.
Sounds good.
You got to be realistic about your skills. This isn't a beginner's bike.
No, not at all. It's a lot of bike to handle.
You need experience. You need confidence to control all that power.
Definitely, it's not something you jump on and figure out as you go.
Even if you're experienced, I'm guessing there's still a learning curve.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to learn with a bike like this.
Like, what do you need to learn?
The electronics, all the settings, how they work, how to use them.
It's not just twist the throttle and go.
No, it's more than that. You got to understand the bike, the
The
suspension.
electronically adjustable suspension. We
Yeah,
talked about that.
yeah. That takes some getting used to, finding the right settings.
So you're saying it takes time? You got to be patient with it?
It's a process. You got to learn how to ride this bike, how to get the most out of it.
Okay, and then there's the maintenance, the costs.
Yeah, and we can't forget about that. Italian bikes are expensive to maintain.
They have a reputation, specialized parts, specialized mechanics.
It all adds up. You got to be prepared for those costs.
It's an investment, not just the initial price, but the ongoing costs, too.
It's like owning a luxury car. You got to pay to play.
So let's get back to the comparison with the other bikes.
Yeah, how does the Brutale really compare?
We were talking about the Ducati, the streetfighter.
The Brutale might handle better. It's lighter, more agile.
It's more precise, like a scalpel, you said?
Exactly. And compared to the Kawasaki, the ZH2,
The ZH2 is heavier because of the supercharger.
it's a big difference. The Brutale is much more nimble.
It's more fun to ride, especially in the corners.
Yeah, it's a blast to ride. It's really responsive.
And it's got more horsepower than the Aprilia and the BMW.
It's the most powerful of the bunch, but they're all great bikes.
It's tough to choose, but the MV Agusta has that Italian style.
It's a beautiful bike. It's got that premium feel.
You can tell they put a lot of care into it. It's a special machine.
It really is. It's something else.
I'm convinced I need to find a way to test ride one.
You should. It's an experience you won't forget.
So for our listeners who are interested, where can they learn more?
The article we talked about, the MV Agusta website, there are videos online.
But the best way is to ride it.
Absolutely. You got to get out there and feel it for yourself.
Well, I think that wraps up our deep dive into the MV Agusta Brutale 1000 RR.
It's been a fun one.
We've covered a lot, the technology, the performance, the style.
It's a bike that has it all.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of motorcycles.
Sounds good.